the creation and the fall of man. God created man in his image, his likeness, and in the image of God he created him, male and female, he created them. Genesis 1:27. The Lord God took the man and placed him in the Garden of Eden, and the Lord God commanded the man thus, From every tree of the garden you may eat, but from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil you must not eat, for that day you eat of it you must die. Genesis 2:15-17. But the serpent said to the woman, No, you shall not die, for God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Genesis 3:4-5. Explanation. Our first parents. God made Adam and Eve. They were the first man and woman. God made all things on earth for them, for their children, and for all who would come after them. The two trees. But Adam and Eve had to make a choice. They had to choose who would be first in their lives. Would it be God or themselves? Would they choose to serve God and eat of the tree of life, or to serve themselves and eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Original sin. The devil tempted Eve first, and she led Adam into sin. They chose the forbidden fruit. This means they chose to please themselves instead of God. This was the first or original sin. Practice. Please God always, even when this means doing something hard. Catechism. What is man? Man is a creature composed of a body, a soul, and made in the image and the likeness of God. God made us like himself. God's greatest powers are to know and to love. He has these powers without limit, and he gave us a share in these great powers. Who were the first man and woman? The first man and woman were Adam and Eve. What commandment did God give to Adam and Eve? God gave Adam and Eve the commandment not to eat of the fruit of a certain tree that grew in the Garden of Paradise. Did Adam and Eve obey the commandment of God? Adam and Eve did not obey the commandment of God, but ate of the forbidden fruit. Adam and Eve misused the powers of God given to them. They loved themselves more than God, and they wanted to have the power and knowledge that God has. They deliberately sinned against God. What happened to Adam and Eve on account of their sin? On account of their sin, Adam and Eve lost sanctifying grace and the right to heaven, and were driven from the Garden of Paradise. What has happened to us on account of the sin of Adam? On account of the sin of Adam, we come into the world without grace, and we inherit this punishment. What is this sin in us called? This sin in us is called original sin. Original sin in us means that we are born without God's life of grace in us, and we are filled with selfishness. Baptism gives us grace, but we still have to work to get rid of our selfishness. Was any human person ever free from original sin? The Blessed Virgin Mary was free from original sin, and this favor is called her Immaculate Conception. Discussion questions. 1. What two great powers did God give us? 2. What command did God give Adam and Eve? 3. What did he say would happen if they disobeyed? 4. Why did they disobey God? And 5. What happens to us because they disobeyed God? True or false? We committed original sin. 2. Man has a body and a soul. 3. Adam and Eve spent all their lives in the garden where God put them. 4. Baptism removes original sin. And 5. God made us like himself. Fill in the blanks. 1. Adam and Eve lost the right to go to blank. 2. Man is made to the likeness of blank. 3. Adam and Eve did not blank God's command. 4. We are born without God's life of blank. And 5. The sin Adam and Eve committed is called blank. Other readings of the Bible. Number 1. The story of creation. Genesis 1 and 2. Number 2. Man's fall and the promise of a Redeemer. You can read about that in Genesis 3. And finally, class liturgical action. Have the class read together Psalm 50. It expresses well this lesson. If it is too difficult, have the class repeat the baptismal promises from the Easter Vigil. And I put some helpful links at the last part of this video. You have a blessed day. God bless.